This week, Chinese President Xi Jinping made a rare appearance in the troubled region of Xinjiang, his first visit there in more than 8 years. It was his second trip in 2 weeks, aimed at demonstrating national unity as he seeks to lengthen his rule later this year. Joining the show from Melbourne is Australia China Council scholar Andrew Phelan. Andrew, thank you for your time. Over the years, I've come to learn that whatever this regime does publicly, it's designed to actually hide the truth. What do you make of his photo opportunities, especially in the Uyghur region of Xinjiang?
Yeah, absolutely, Chris. It's all about optics. And the optics are designed to present stability, or wending in Chinese. And this is all about, in fact, everything in China at the moment is all about the 20th Partyist Congress later in the year. Twice a decade, China has this meeting, and it confirms the leadership for the next 5 years, both the paramount leader and the Prime Minister. And this is all about Xi staying in power. So as you pointed out, he's recently been to Hong Kong. Now he's in Xinjiang, which means new frontier or new border in Chinese. And you've seen that picture that was just shown. He's smiling in front of a bunch of shiny, happy Uyghurs, waving for the cameras and smiling. Notice that their husbands aren't there because Xi's been responsible for carting them off to concentration camps. But this is what James Millward of Georgetown calls erasure by inclusion. In other words, we're going to steamroll your local language and culture, rob you of your identity, but when it suits us, we'll will you out to smile for the cameras and make out like we're all one big happy family.
It is foul. It is foul. We discovered today also that the President has summoned his coal industry chiefs to a meeting in Beijing. Now, where's this going? We've got the speculation within the financial markets in Australia that this is the last step before they lift the black ban on our coal. It's a decision based on basic survival, is it? It's not about resetting our relationship.
100%. It's all about their own national interest. If you recall, you and I spoke about this at the outset of the ban when China was saying Australian coal had impurities. Unbeknownst to us, they'd been negotiating with the Indonesians, signed a contract with them to import Indonesian coal to cover the Australia ban. Their coal is dirtier than ours, it's less reliable, and they actually slapped a ban on exports for a while. At the same time, as Holly pointed out earlier, China's trying to hedge its bets on importing Russian coal in case there's sanctions from the US against that. So, and at the same time, the Port of Newcastle is 50% owned by China Merchants, which was China's first private company, but is very much a state-owned enterprise. So they had reliable supply, good supply, and a couple of winters ago, they had a brutally cold winter. And the government said to people, hey, just go and install gas. But 600 million people in China are dirt poor, and they couldn't afford to. So again, this is about hedging, it's about stability, and getting Xi Jinping to that 5-year extension. And at the same time, youth unemployment is 20% in China right now. They've had a banking and real estate crisis, and they were shooting for 5.5% GDP growth at the end of Q2. They got 0.4%. So it's actually outward, we're stable. Inward, there's a lot of headwinds.
Having said that, I think it's okay for Australia to accept the offer to bring coal back into the country, because if we start getting that relationship back on, we can save some of our other export markets too, which is what the end game is. We don't have to go to lunch with these people. Yeah,
100%. Well, we'll do what's in our national interest. They're going to do what's in theirs. It's not an olive branch, and it's not a reset of relationships. So it would be foolish to take that as an attempt at rapprochement by China, although they'll try and spin it that way. At the same time, they're talking about, climate change is an area we could potentially cooperate on. That's a ruse. China, in my view, is not serious about addressing climate change. And if they're buying more coal, I think that speaks to that point.
And here they go again, Andrew. The South China Morning Post is reporting this afternoon that China is ramping up its aggressive military drills in waters and airspace around Taiwan. And yet the Chinese foreign minister told the US Secretary of State last week, America was suffering from Chinophobia. But their actions don't match their words, do they?
It's been an interesting couple of weeks. We had the USS Benfold destroyer go into the South China Sea and was supposedly, according to Chinese state-run media, scared away by a couple of ships in a Chinese submarine. It was also an unofficial invitation to the Ronald Reagan strike carrier group to come down into the South China Sea and remind China that America's still got a lot of muscle. But in the last week, we've had Rick Scott, the senior Republican congressman who's on the Armed Services Committee, visit Taipei. And of course, that bristles Beijing. So they've sent some planes towards Taiwan. They've crossed the median line into Taiwan airspace. And so we're seeing this game of brinkmanship. But as I said before, China wants to not lose face, but show that things are stable leading up to the 20th Party Congress. They're not going to attack Taiwan, in my view, on this side of the Congress. And because, as you know, when war starts, it's chaos. And the Chinese government likes winding, stability, stay in power. And Luan, or chaos, is the opposite of that. So they're going to try and maintain smooth sailing up to the Congress.
So tell me about the Congress. Is it a fait accompli that Xi extends and becomes the longest-serving leader of that country in history?
Highly unlikely that he will not be reconfirmed. He's got his enemies, make no mistake about that. But he's also been crushing dissent with an iron fist. Got to remember that China spends about as much on its own domestic security, spying and arresting its own people, as it does on national defence. So, you know, he'll be watching his back, and that's why his visits are very orchestrated, planned in ahead, minimise security. That picture of the Uyghur ladies was taken outside a Communist Party meeting room, for example.
Great insight. Andrew Phelan, thank you very much for your time.
Always,
All right.
Chris.
Thank
Cheers.
you, mate.